Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome to week 6 of World History for May 4th through the 8th, 2020. This week, we are going to be reviewing the TCI Lesson 33, The Rise of the Roman Republic. In Section 1, we are going to be reading about how the patricians and the plebeians behaved under the Etruscan rule. Patricians are upper-class citizens. They came from a small group of wealthy landowners. They were mostly priests, military commanders, and political advisors. They elected the fathers of the state, who advised the first Etruscan king. Plebeians were free, non-patricians who comprised about 95% of Rome's population. They were mostly peasants, laborers, and craftspeople, and also shopkeepers. They had very little voice in the government, even though they were 95% of the population. The Etruscans ruled Rome between 616 and 509 BCE. Section 2. The patricians create a republic. Citizens eventually grew tired of Etruscan power. Lucius Junius Brutus led a group of patricians that drove out the Etruscan king. They then decided to form a republic where most of the power resided with the Senate. The balance of power between patricians and plebeians when the republic was first created was that all power was in the hands of the patricians. Remember, the patricians were the ones that were the priests, the military commanders. The power was in the hands of the Senate. Only the patricians could be senators and consuls, and patricians elected the senators. The plebeians rebel in Section 3. The balance of political power between the patricians, which were the military and the priests, and the plebeians, which were the laborers and the shopkeepers, during the conflict of orders in 494 BCE was that the patricians held the power. The conflict of orders is a conflict between two social classes. Here we have the patricians and the plebeians. The patricians made the decisions and they interpreted the laws to benefit themselves, even though the plebeians were 95% of the Roman population. The patricians were frightened by the actions of the plebeians. Let me go back up here. The plebeians decided to unite and fight for what they wanted. They began to demand more political rights. They didn't have any. And the patricians were frightened by the actions of the plebeians because the work on the farms and in the cities came to a halt. That means the work stopped. Also, patricians were afraid that without the plebeians, the army would be too weak to defend Rome, because even though the patricians were military, they were the military commanders. In Section 4, the plebeians gained political equality. The two ways in which the plebeians gained more political power after the results of 494 BCE was that the tribunes of the plebes spoke for the plebeians and could veto the actions of the Senate. The Council of Plebes made laws for all plebeians. In 451 BCE, patricians agreed to write down laws on the 12 tables. In 367 BCE, one of the two Roman consuls was required to be a plebeian. That is how they were involved in that. In 287 BCE, plebeian assemblies could pass laws for all Roman citizens and could nominate consuls, tribunes, and members of the Senate. Before the revolt, only the patricians could nominate members of the Senate. Characteristics of the Roman Republic. Think about how these are similar with the republic that we have right now in the United States. A written constitution, elected assemblies, citizenship, a spirit of republicanism, checks and balances, and civic duty. Those are all characteristics of the Roman Republican. Patricians and plebeian under the Etruscan rule. Under the Etruscans, Roman society was divided into two classes, the patricians and the plebeians. The plebeians comprised about 95% of Rome's population, but they had very little voice in the government. The patricians created a republic. In 509 BCE, patricians drove out the last of the Etruscan kings and created a republic. Most of the power was maintained by the patrician senate and the consuls. Only patricians could participate in the new government. The plebeians rebel. The plebeians began to demand more political rights in a struggle with the patricians known as the Conflict of Orders. In 494 BCE, angry over their lack of power, the plebeians rebelled. The plebeians gained political equality. The patricians agreed to allow the plebeians to elect tribunes of the plebes and the council of the plebs. Around 451 BCE, the 12 tables were published. By 287 BCE, assemblies of all citizens could pass laws. Plebeians governed alongside patricians and finally won their right for equality. Now this brings us to our Lesson 33 mini benchmark assessment. Remember to write your answers on a piece of paper and email, text, or scan them to Miss Petty or myself. The first question, number 1, who first ruled early Rome? Our choices are A, the Etruscan kings, B, military councils, C, Roman senators, or D, plebeian assemblies. Well, I remember reading about this in the beginning when we talked about the Romans at the beginning and who was ruling them. So let's go back. I'm going to go back all the way to the beginning and I'm going to look at this. Let's look at this slide. Oh, well, here it says, they elected fathers of the state who advised the Etruscan king. Okay, that kind of gives me a little hint. And then here it says the Etruscans ruled Rome between 616 and 509 BCE. So I am thinking that the first rulers are going to be under an Etruscan king. And look, it's right here as well, the Etruscan king. So let's go back to slide number 9. Oh, nope, slide number 8. My mistake, I'm sorry. And it says, who first ruled early Rome? Yeah, let's go with the Etruscan kings. You are right. That's where we found that answer. Let's look at question number 2. Who led a group of patricians that drove out the Etruscan king? Was it the patrician rulers? Was it Lucius Junius Brutus? Was it Roman senators? Or plebeian assemblies? I remember reading about this. So we're going to go back. Oops, sorry. Oh, here it is. It says citizens eventually grew tired of Etruscan power. Lucius Junius Brutus led a group of patricians that drove out the Etruscan king. Awesome! So who drove out the Etruscan king? Right here. Lucius Junius Brutus. All right, let's go back to slide 8. Who led a group of patricians that drove out the Etruscan king? Do you remember his name? Yes, you are right. It's Lucius Junius Brutus. He was the one that drove out the Etruscan king. Let's look at number 3. What was the conflict of orders in 494 BCE? Was it a conflict between the two social classes? B, a rebellion of the patricians? C, Roman senators making orders for the plebeian? D, plebeian committee defending the Roman senators? Oh, I remember reading about the conflict of orders. Let's go back to slide 4. I think, was it slide 4? Yes, there it is, slide 4. Conflict of orders. Oh, it says it right here. During the conflict of orders, a conflict between the two social classes. Okay, so I'm going to use my context clues right here and notice that these parentheses after the conflict of orders, that tells me what the conflict of orders is. It is a conflict between the two social classes. Let's go back. All right, so which one of these is going to be the conflict of orders? Is it a conflict between the two social classes? Well, yes, you're right. We just read that. It was letter A. Exactly. We didn't have to go to the next ones as far as these 3 questions or these 3 answer choices because we know that the conflict of orders, based on the parentheses in the text, that it is a conflict between the two social classes. All right. Oh, question number 4. Yay, nice and big. In what 2 ways did the plebeians, okay, look at this right here, 2. In what 2 ways did the plebeians gain more political power after the revolts of 494 BCE? Okay, so we're going to have to look for 2 ways. How many answers do you think we're going to have here? Yes, we're going to have 2 answers. In what 2 ways did the plebeians gain more political power? Remember, the plebeians were the ones that revolted against the patricians, who revolted against the Etruscan king. Oops. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. My bad. So sorry. You know me. It had to happen. I always give out the answers. Oh, no. Okay. In what 2 ways? I'm going to move my cursor. Thank you. In what 2 ways did the plebeians gain more political power? Let's look at our answer choices. We know we have to have 2 of them. A, they took away checks and balances of the republic. B, they set up a monarchy of Etruscan rule. C, the tribunes of the plebes spoke for the plebeians. D, they could veto the actions of the Senate. All right. I remember reading about the plebeians and their revolt and gaining more power back in slide 5. So let's go back to slide 5 for a minute. And it asked about the 2 ways. Oh, look, right here. It says the 2 ways. They gained more political power after the revolts of 494 BCE was that, oh, here it is, the tribunes of the plebs, I think that's how it's pronounced. I've been pronouncing it incorrectly. I do apologize. The tribunes of the plebs spoke for the plebeians. Okay, that's one. And that tells us that there's more than one. They could vote, they could veto actions of the Senate. So the tribunes of the plebs spoke for the plebeians, and they could veto the actions of the Senate. All right, let's go to slide 9 for our assessment. Didn't say anything about taking away checks and balances. Didn't say anything about setting up a monarchy, but it did say about the tribunes of the plebs that spoke for the plebeians. So I know C is one of my choices. And then they said they could veto the actions of the Senate. Yes, D, not vote. I read that wrong. It's veto. They could veto the actions of the Senate. Right. So our two answers are going to be C and D. Excellent. Very good. Look at number 5. What are a few of the characteristics of the Roman Republic? Okay, so we're looking for the characteristics of the Roman Republic. That's going to be our keywords in this question. Our answer choices are A, a written constitution, B, elected assemblies, C, citizenship, or D, all of the above. I think I know this answer, but I'm going to make sure. So I'm going to double check, and I'm going to go back to slide 6 where it had all the characteristics of the Roman Republic listed. Oh, look, it has a written constitution, elected assemblies, citizenship, a spirit of republicanism, checks and balances, and civic duty. I don't remember these 3 being on the answer choices for the mini assessment number 5, but I do remember these 3, the Constitution, assemblies, elected assemblies, and citizenship. Let's look. Yes, a written constitution, elected assemblies, and citizenship. So we were right. It is all the above. It's not all the characteristics because we read about 3 more, but this is a few of the characteristics. Good job, boys and girls. Let's check our answers. Okay, we've already seen this because I made the mistake and flipped through it too soon. I am so sorry about that, but we're going to check it anyway. Question number 1. Did you get A for that one? Yes, we found our answer on slide 2. Question number 2. The answer was B. And we found our answer on slide 3. Question number 3. Letter A. And we found our answer on slide 4. Question number 4. We had 2 answers, C and D. Make sure to include both of those. And we found that answer on slide 5. And question number 5, that was letter D, and we found that on slide 6. So don't forget to write down your answers on a piece of paper, text, email, or scan them to Miss Petty or myself. All right, I'm going to go back to slide number 1. And just a reminder, this is in your TCI World History for week 6, May 4th through 8th, 2020, Lesson 33, The Rise of the Roman Republic. Okay, boys and girls, I'm looking forward to talking to you this week. If you have any questions, please let me know. Remember to stay safe, stay strong, and stay healthy. And I am very excited to hear from you this week. I hope you have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.